The serpent coil breaks. The eye of night opens.
She sat above a crack in the earth, in a room where no light reached, on a three-legged bronze stool, breathing something that rose from the ground beneath her. Her eyes were open, but she was not looking at the room. Outside, in the mountain cold, a line of men waited in silence. Kings, generals, emperors, the most powerful men in the ancient world, and not one of them would move without her answer. She held no sword. She commanded no soldiers. She had no crown, no army, no political title. She had only the stool, the smoke, and the words that came. For nearly 1,000 years, she was the most powerful voice in the world. She was the Pythia, the Oracle of Delphi, and this is who she was. Stories like this one have been buried for centuries, too strange for textbooks, too real to be myth. If this is the kind of history you want more of, subscribe to Truly Historical and hit the bell. There are stories waiting here that will stay with you long after you have finished watching. The center of everything. Delphi sat on the slopes of Mount Parnassus, carved into the rock more than 1,000 feet above the valley floor. The Greeks believed it was the center of the world, not a metaphor, a fact. Zeus had released 2 eagles from opposite ends of the earth and watched them fly toward each other. They met above Delphi. A carved stone, the omphalos, the navel of the world, was placed there to mark the spot. The Temple of Apollo had stood in some form since the 8th century BCE. By the height of its power, it was the most important religious site in the Greek world. Not just important, indispensable. No colony was founded without consulting it, no war declared, no alliance sealed, no king crowned without first making the climb. They came from Sparta, from Athens, from Persia, from Lydia and Egypt and the far reaches of the Mediterranean. They brought gold. They brought animals for sacrifice. They brought questions they were afraid to ask anyone else, because she was the only one who could answer them. And if you wanted to see her, you waited your turn. Even kings waited. The woman on the stool. The Pythia was not one woman. It was an office, passed from woman to woman across nearly 1,000 years. The earliest Pythias were young. Then, after an incident, the ancient sources describe only vaguely an assault, a violation. The rules changed. From that point forward, the Pythia was always a woman over 50. A woman past the age of desire, the Greeks said. A woman the god could speak through without complication. She was chosen from the women of Delphi itself, not for beauty, not for birth, for character, for steadiness, for something the priests recognized and could not fully name. Once chosen, she left her previous life entirely. Her husband, if she had one, her children, her home, all of it, behind. She belonged to Apollo now. On consultation days, her preparation was precise and unvarying. She bathed in the Castalian spring, the sacred water that ran cold from the mountain. She fasted. She chewed laurel leaves, sacred to Apollo, until her mouth turned bitter. Then she descended into the adyton, the innermost chamber of the temple where no sunlight ever reached, climbed onto the bronze tripod, and sat above the chasm in the earth. And she waited for the god. The breath beneath the stone. What happened inside that chamber, the ancient world could not fully explain. Plutarch, who served as a high priest at Delphi centuries later, wrote about a sweet-smelling vapor that drifted up from the temple floor. A breath from the earth itself. Something that altered the mind, that loosened the boundary between the woman and whatever moved through her. Some Pythias emerged from the chamber shaking. Some wept without knowing why. Some could not speak for hours after. The ancient sources record that on rare occasions, a Pythia died inside, that the sessions were kept short, 1 day per month, 9 months of the year, because the toll on the woman was real. The words that came out of that chamber were wrapped in riddles, delivered in verse by the priests who transcribed them, designed to be understood in more than one way. That ambiguity was not a flaw. It was a shield. It kept the oracle safe from blame when things went wrong, and things sometimes went very wrong. The richest man in the world. Croesus of Lydia was so wealthy that people still use his name as a proverb, rich as Croesus, 26 centuries later. He ruled a kingdom in what is now Western Turkey. He had more gold than any man alive, and he wanted to know if the gods favored his plan to attack the Persian Empire. But Croesus was cautious. Before trusting any oracle, he tested them all. He sent messengers to every major temple in the ancient world and asked each one to describe exactly what he was doing on a specific day. Most failed. The message from Delphi described how Croesus was boiling a tortoise and a lamb together in a bronze pot. From hundreds of miles away, on the correct day, Croesus believed. He sent another gift, enormous, extravagant, and asked the question that mattered most. Should he attack Persia? The Pythia answered, "If you cross the river Halys, you will destroy a great empire." Croesus heard what he wanted to hear. He gathered his army, crossed the river, and attacked. The Persians crushed him. His kingdom fell to Cyrus the Great in 546 BCE. The oracle had been technically correct. Croesus had destroyed a great empire. It just happened to be his own. The wooden wall. In 480 BCE, the Persian army of Xerxes was moving towards Greece. Athens sent envoys to Delphi in desperation. The oracle told them, "The wooden wall will save you." The city argued over what it meant. Some believed it referred to the old wooden palisade around the Acropolis. Others were not sure. The Athenian general Themistocles argued that the wooden wall meant the fleet, the ships. He persuaded Athens to fight at sea. At the Battle of Salamis, the Persian fleet was destroyed. Greece survived. The oracle had spoken, a general had listened carefully, a civilization had been preserved. The king who would not wait. More than a century after Salamis, another man arrived at Delphi. Alexander the Great had just seized the throne of Macedonia. He was preparing to invade the Persian Empire, the same empire that had destroyed Croesus 2 centuries before. He climbed Mount Parnassus and demanded a prophecy of victory. The Pythia refused. She told him no prophecy would be given that day. She asked him to return later. Alexander was not a man who accepted refusal. He grabbed her, dragged her across the temple floor toward the inner chamber. She struggled, and then she spoke. "You are invincible. No one can defeat you." Alexander released her. He took those words as the divine endorsement he needed. He went on to build one of the largest empires the world has ever seen. Croesus had been cautious, and caution destroyed him. Alexander was violent and impatient, and the same oracle gave him exactly what he wanted. 2 men, 2 opposite approaches. One woman whose words shaped both of their destinies. She never left her chamber, but her voice traveled farther than any army. The oracle remained active for nearly 1,000 years, from the earliest days of Greek civilization deep into the Roman era. Then in 390 CE, the Emperor Theodosius ordered all pagan temples closed. The last recorded prophecy was delivered to the Emperor Julian, who had sent a messenger hoping to restore the old religion. The oracle's final words were these: "Tell the king the fair-wrought hall has fallen. Apollo has no longer any shelter, or prophetic laurel, or speaking spring. The water of speech is quenched. 1,000 years of answers ended in a sentence. The temple still stands, partially. The columns, the stone, the crack in the earth is still there, though no one sits above it now. What is not in question is the power that passed through that chamber. The kings who climbed the mountain, the empires that rose and fell on the words of a woman who held no army, no crown, no political title, only the stool, the smoke, and the words that came. We know the words that came out. We do not know what it was like to be the one they came through. What do you think she actually experienced in that chamber? The voice of a god, or something stranger and more human than that? This world is full of stories like hers, people history almost forgot, moments that should not have happened, but did. Subscribe to Truly Historical so none of them pass you by. There are more waiting, and the next one is already there. Beyond the story,